Numbers 19, the water of cleansing, the red heifer. Numbers 19 gives instructions for the water of cleansing, a purification ritual for those who have come into contact with death. The key element is the red heifer, a rare, unblemished female cow that has never been yoked. The heifer is slaughtered outside the camp. Its blood is sprinkled 7 times toward the tabernacle. The entire heifer is burned, hide, flesh, blood, and dung, together with cedar wood, hyssop, and scarlet yarn. The ashes are collected and kept for the water of cleansing. When someone touches a dead body, a human bone, or a grave, they are ceremonially unclean. The water mixed with ashes is sprinkled on them, and they wash and are clean by evening. This chapter is a profound picture of purification from death, and it points directly to Jesus, who was offered outside the city to cleanse us from sin. The water of cleansing, the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "This is a requirement of the law that the Lord has commanded. Tell the Israelites to bring you a red heifer without defect or blemish, and that has never been under a yoke. Give it to Eleazar the priest. It is to be taken outside the camp and slaughtered in his presence. Then Eleazar the priest is to take some of its blood on his finger and sprinkle it 7 times toward the front of the tent of meeting. While he watches, the heifer is to be burned, its hide, flesh, blood, and intestines. The priest is to take some cedar wood, hyssop, and scarlet wool and throw them onto the burning heifer. After that, the priest must wash his clothes and bathe himself with water. He may then come into the camp, but he will be ceremonially unclean till evening. The man who burns it must also wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he too will be unclean till evening. A man who is clean shall gather up the ashes of the heifer and put them in a ceremonially clean place outside the camp. They are to be kept by the Israelite community for use in the water of cleansing. It is for purification from sin. The man who gathers up the ashes of the heifer must also wash his clothes, and he too will be unclean till evening. This will be a lasting ordinance both for the Israelites and for the foreigners residing among them. Whoever touches a human corpse will be unclean for 7 days. They must purify themselves with the water on the 3rd day and on the 7th day, then they will be clean. But if they do not purify themselves on the 3rd and 7th days, they will not be clean. If they fail to purify themselves after touching a human corpse, they defile the Lord's tabernacle. They must be cut off from Israel. Because the water of cleansing has not been sprinkled on them, they are unclean. Their uncleanness remains on them. This is the law that applies when a person dies in a tent. Anyone who enters the tent and anyone who is in it will be unclean for 7 days, and every open container without a lid fastened on it will be unclean. Anyone out in the open who touches someone who has been killed with a sword or someone who has died a natural death, or anyone who touches a human bone or a grave will be unclean for 7 days. For the unclean person, put some ashes from the burned purification offering into a jar and pour fresh water over them. Then a man who is ceremonially clean is to take some hyssop, dip it in the water, and sprinkle the tent and all the furnishings and the people who were there. He must also sprinkle anyone who has touched a human bone or a grave, or anyone who has been killed, or anyone who has died a natural death. The man who is clean is to sprinkle those who are unclean on the 3rd and 7th days, and on the 7th day he is to purify them. Those who are being cleansed must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and that evening they will be clean. But if those who are unclean do not purify themselves, they must be cut off from the community, because they have defiled the sanctuary of the Lord. The water of cleansing has not been sprinkled on them, and they are unclean. This is a lasting ordinance for them. The man who sprinkles the water of cleansing must also wash his clothes, and anyone who touches the water of cleansing will be unclean till evening. Anything that an unclean person touches becomes unclean, and anyone who touches it becomes unclean till evening. Lessons and teachings. 1. Death is defiling. It reminds us of sin's consequence. Whoever touches a dead body will be unclean for 7 days. 7:11 Contact with death made an Israelite ceremonially unclean. This is not because death is sinful, but because death is the result of sin. It is a constant reminder that the world is broken, that sin leads to death, and that we need cleansing. For us, do you recognize the seriousness of death? Do you see it as the enemy? Jesus came to conquer death. Through him, death no longer has the final word. 2. The red heifer was a unique sacrifice, without defect, never yoked. Bring you a red heifer without defect, one that has never been yoked. 19:2. The red heifer was rare and valuable. It had never been used for ordinary work. It was set apart for this special purpose. This points to Jesus. Sinless, never yoked to sin, set apart for the sacrifice of all sacrifices. For us, Jesus was the perfect sacrifice. He was without defect. He was never yoked to sin. Trust his all-sufficient sacrifice. 3. The red heifer was sacrificed outside the camp, pointing to Christ. Take it outside the camp and slaughter it. 19:3. The red heifer was not offered at the tabernacle altar. It was taken outside the camp, the place of judgment, shame, and rejection. Hebrews 1:12 p.m. says Jesus also suffered outside the city gate to make the people holy through his own blood. For us, Jesus was rejected, crucified outside Jerusalem. He bore our shame outside the camp. Come to him outside the camp bearing his reproach. 4. The ashes provided ongoing cleansing, a picture of grace. The ashes are to be kept for the water of cleansing. 19:9. The ashes of the red heifer were kept outside the camp, ready to be mixed with water for ongoing purification. This provided repeated cleansing for repeated contact with death. It is a picture of God's provision for ongoing sin and defilement. For us, do you need repeated cleansing? God provides it. The blood of Jesus cleanses us from all sin. 1 John 1:7. Come to him again and again. 5. Refusal to be purified results in being cut off. If they refuse to be purified, they must be cut off from Israel. 7:13 p.m. God provided purification. But those who refused, who defiantly rejected the water of cleansing, were cut off from the people. This is a warning against rejecting God's provision for cleansing. For us, have you received God's provision for cleansing? Do not refuse the water of life. Do not reject the blood of Jesus. Come and be cleansed.
Let's continue studying the book of Numbers. Subscribe, like, comment, and hit notification button for more videos, more Bible study, and more Bible knowledge. We got you.